Okay, so I rendered out the orbit animation. In addition to that, I did a quick render as a cell render. And just a reminder how you would accomplish that is if you go into render settings, go to effects, and you can choose cell render, which is no longer on my list because it's been added up here. Once you add cell render, I'm just going to select that option, and the only thing I've done is I let everything default, but I'm turning edges on. With edges off, we just get an outline. I'm going to turn edges on, and I'll give that a render, and so now I get a simple wireframe. Of course, you can adjust the colors, you can add color and quantize the steps, but the basic render that I've outputted is sitting inside my renders folder, and you can see now that I have a couple of different renders out. I have walk15 02, orbit 01, and wire 01. The wire is the wireframe. Okay, so I have a simple wireframe walk that I could use. I could splice that in. And so my goal here was just to capture several different renders. If I want to showcase this render, I have a couple different methods of doing that. I can post the existing videos just as I have them. So I have my walk cycle, I have my walk cycle wireframe, and I could post those on Vimeo and let folks look through that. Now, if I want to take advantage of these clips and actually build a simple edit and splice one clip into the other, maybe build a simple set of titles in the front end, I can do that. This is not a required step, but I want to throw this out there as something to encourage you to think about. For those of you that have taken digital video courses, certainly you can use something a little bit more powerful than what I'm about to use, and you can apply the same concepts that if you've done some video editing with these clips. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply use iMovie. So if I go into the application menu from the Finder, I'm inside the application menu, and I'm just going to tap the I key and take me down to iMovie. I could use Premiere for this. On the academic image, we have Premiere, Final Cut, iMovie. If you have a Mac at home, you'll have iMovie, and that's why I'm demonstrating this tool. Certainly, if you're using a Windows machine, it used to be that Windows would come with Microsoft Movie Maker or something similar to that. You probably have some kind of tool on your computer to do some really simple editing. I'm just going to launch iMovie and just in a few minutes or less just demonstrate how I might edit these clips together inside iMovie, or at least just string them together to have something to look at. So I'm launching iMovie. It appears to be up. I was hoping to find some kind of splash screen, but for whatever reason it's not. Maybe it's not finished loading. I'm going to pause this and let this load. Okay, so for whatever reason I had to quit iMovie and relaunch it. There it goes. I'm not sure why this window didn't pop up the first time. It hung up for a moment without the iMovie window opening, but I just quit iMovie, relaunched it, and it appeared to be fine. So it could be my screencasting software that caused it to pause for a moment. So but if you're working at home on a Mac, you should be able to launch iMovie just the same. If you're working at the TLC or in the classroom, you should have a very similar setup. So what I have right now is the default iMovie environment, and iMovie is deceptively simple to use, and so it does support HD formats. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into my project folder, into my renders folder, and I'm just going to drag in the movies that I want to use. And so I'm going to drag and drop into this media panel here, and so I've dragged walk 02. Okay, the drag and drop didn't appear to work, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to iMovie, and I'll go to File, Import Movies, and I'll do it the old-fashioned way. So I'm going to import. I'll probably keep this just full or original size, or maybe I'll set it to large. You know, the large isn't too much smaller than what I'm already using, so I'll use full. That way it doesn't have to convert the videos. I'll say OK, and now I'm just going to browse for and find renders, and I'm just going to select. I'll just grab the last three the last 3 movies here. So I'll import, I'll let everything default, and I'll import, and it'll take a few minutes. So and when I do, I'll have some simple assets that I can edit together. So I'll pause this and let this finish import. Okay, so my assets have imported into iMovie, and so what I have down here is I have all my clips down here. This is my composition or my project window, and so what I'm going to do is the way that iMovie works is that it's basically just a click, drag, and drop, or a double click on each clip. If I click on the clip, I get this little trim scene here, and this allows me to adjust and do an inline edit of my clip. And if I double click on it, it selects the entire clip. It brings up the clip inspector, and so I can look at some of the options, and I can do some color correction or some video adjustment. Basically, what I want to do is I'm just going to drag my first clip in, and when I do, I get prompted for a project name, and I'm just going to call this walk cycle. Okay, and I'll be able to track this. I'm going to leave it at widescreen, and the theme that I'm going to use is none. Okay, and I will just create. And so I have a default project. Now, it is worth mentioning that that the way that iMovie works is that if you're on the computer that you own, iMovie will maintain its assets. It'll maintain its project as a library. If you're working on a student station, you're going to lose not the assets, so not the videos that you're using, but the actual project file. So it's really important that if you're using iMovie on the student station or at Tri-C, you get in, you create the project, and you get out and complete it, because you won't, if you log out of your computer, you won't be able to get back in and access the project that you've created. You're not going to lose your clips, but you will lose any modifications to the clips or assets that you bundle together. So I'm just going to double click on my next clip, and I'm going to drag and drop next to it, and so now you can see that I have a wireframe clip, and I have now my standard render clip, and now I'm going to go grab my orbit clip, and I've just kind of strung those all together. In addition, so I have just a real simple clip, and if I tap the space bar, I can watch my composition play. Okay, and it lines up everything back to back, and so I'm looking at the preview on the right side, and I have a nice presentation of all of my clips together. Now, if I want to push this a little bit further, over here on the right side, if I wanted to add music, anything that I have in my iTunes library or in GarageBand, I can bring in. If I wanted to composite this with a still photo, I can do that. I could add some titles, but what I'm interested in doing is adding some really simple transition. So I want to cross dissolve, so I want to fade one into the other, and I'll just drag and drop that between 2 existing clips. And so what I get now is this sort of thing. Okay, and so I'll just grab another cross dissolve and drop that. Okay, let me try this again. I dropped that in the wrong place. I want to drop it right in the middle of the 2 clips. Maybe on the front end of this other clip. There we go. It's modifying that clip a little bit. Oh, there we go. Actually, I got it right. I was looking at this preview, and I kind of shrunk it down, but I think that was, I still have pretty much the entire clip there. So everything looks pretty good. So I have a crossfade there, or cross dissolve, and then it cross dissolves there. That looks pretty good. So, and then finally, if I want to throw some titles on the front end of this, I'll just click on this little T here, and have some really great pre-configured titles, or it crashes. So again, I'm going to ignore that. I'm not sure what happened there, but let me just take a look, and hopefully everything's still in iMovie. So because I'm logged in, I haven't logged out. I shouldn't lose anything, but looks like I did. So, but no problem. I'll just I'll go back to my project gallery. See, oh, there it is. Okay, so I did in fact crash, but if I click on my project library, I can go back into my walk cycle project that I've already established. I'll double click on that project, and now I'm back in business. So, okay, the advantage of having a library rather than a project file is that everything's kind of saving for me on the fly. So I'm going to go back to titles and see if I can get this to work without crashing. That's probably the first time I've ever had iMovie crash on me. So I don't want transitions. I want to go to titles. So, it appears that my title library is corrupted or something's going on. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to push this title forward. It would be really nice to be able to do this. But I'm going to jump back into iMovie and I'll wrap up this demonstration just by outputting my project. Maybe with a quick computer restart, I won't have much of a problem. I was installing some stuff before this presentation that might be conflicting with the titles of iMovie. I can't imagine why it would. But anyway, so let's imagine that I've completed my project. I've put titles in the front end. I've applied some simple audio track to it if I want to enhance it in that way. At this point, I should be able to share this project. And if I export the movie or export the movie using QuickTime, I'll have a couple of different options. So I'll export the movie, and I have some pre-configured options here. I'm just going to save it as a large format. That's good for these kinds of devices. And I'll save this as walk cycle edit 01. It looks like it's saving in my renders project, but if I wanted to ensure that, I'll just drop this little triangle here and make sure it's in the right path. It looks like it is, and I will export. It'll take a minute for this whole project to crunch down, but when it's done, I should have a QuickTime movie that has the wireframe along with the transition to the still walk cycle over to the orbit. And using iMovie, I was able to get in really quickly and get these clips together. I will demonstrate also how you might do this in Premiere. We do have Premiere on our image, and you know, again, this is not a requirement, but as you start thinking about the animations that you put together, it's going to be very helpful if you could edit these clips together. So, but we'll catch up in the next presentation.